In the heart of Africa, a vast and resource-rich land beckoned, the Congo. For King Leopold II of Belgium, it was a chance to carve out a personal empire, a dominion independent of his small European kingdom. At the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, the Congo Free State was born, with Leopold at its helm. Initially, the ivory trade fueled the colonial enterprise. However, a new and even more lucrative resource emerged: rubber. The global demand for rubber, driven by the burgeoning automobile industry, transformed the Congo into a nightmare for its inhabitants. Leopold's agents, driven by greed and ambition, imposed a brutal system of resource extraction. The Congo's natural bounty, once a source of sustenance and trade for its people, became a curse under Leopold's rule. The rainforest, teeming with life, was transformed into a vast labor camp. Villages were assigned impossible quotas of rubber to be collected. Failure to meet these quotas had horrific consequences. The Congo Free State became synonymous with terror. The Force Publique, Leopold's private army, enforced the rubber quotas with unspeakable brutality. Floggings were commonplace, a routine form of punishment for those who fell short. Hostage-taking became a favored tactic. Women and children were held captive, often subjected to torture and starvation, to coerce their husbands and fathers into meeting the quotas. But the most chilling aspect of this reign of terror was the mutilation. Hands, considered proof of death and a means to instill terror, became a gruesome currency. Officers were required to provide hands as evidence that bullets weren't wasted on hunting or in acts of defiance. This led to a macabre trade, with soldiers sometimes amputating the living and even resorting to purchasing hands to meet their quotas. The Congo River, once a lifeline for communities, became a watery grave, carrying the bodies of countless victims downstream. The horrors unfolding in the Congo did not remain hidden for long. Despite Leopold's efforts to maintain a veil of secrecy, missionaries and travelers brought back harrowing accounts of the atrocities. One such witness was Roger Casement, a British consul who traveled extensively throughout the Congo. His detailed report, published in 1904, exposed the systematic brutality of Leopold's regime to the world. Casement's meticulous documentation of the forced labor, mutilations, and killings sent shockwaves through Europe and America. Another prominent voice of dissent was Edie Morel, a shipping clerk who noticed the discrepancy between the exports from the Congo and the imports. He deduced that the rubber wealth was being extracted through forced labor and violence. Morel founded the Congo Reform Association, mobilizing public opinion against Leopold's rule. He was joined by literary figures like Mark Twain, whose satirical pamphlet King Leopold's Soliloquy exposed the hypocrisy of Leopold's claims of philanthropy. Section 4. A Harvest of Death. The exact death toll during Leopold's reign of terror remains unknown. However, historians estimate that between 1 and 15 million Congolese perished as a direct or indirect result of his policies. This staggering loss of life was a direct consequence of the forced labor system, the brutality of the Force Publique, and the famines and diseases that followed in their wake. Villages were decimated, their populations depleted through death, displacement, and despair. The Congo's population was not merely reduced, it was scarred. The systematic violence and the breakdown of traditional social structures left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of the Congolese people. The trauma of Leopold's rule would continue to haunt the nation long after he relinquished control. Section 5. The Long Shadow of Exploitation. Leopold's reign of terror in the Congo Free State casts a long shadow over the region's history. The brutal exploitation of resources and people during this era had profound and lasting consequences for the Congo. The forced labor system, coupled with the decimation of the population, crippled the Congo's economy. Traditional agricultural practices were disrupted, and the focus shifted entirely towards rubber extraction. This left the Congo ill-prepared for economic independence. The political landscape of the Congo was equally devastated. The arbitrary borders drawn up during the colonial era, coupled with the deliberate undermining of traditional leadership structures, created a legacy of instability and conflict. The seeds of future civil wars and ethnic violence were sown during this period of exploitation. Section 6. The end of an era, the beginning of a reckoning. In 1908, after years of international pressure and mounting evidence of atrocities, Leopold II was forced to relinquish his personal control over the Congo Free State. The territory was annexed by Belgium, becoming the Belgian Congo. While this transition brought about some improvements, the legacy of Leopold's rule continued to haunt the Congo. Forced labor, though less overt, persisted under various forms of colonial rule. The handover of the Congo to Belgium marked the end of an era, but it was also the beginning of a long and arduous journey towards reckoning and reconciliation. The atrocities committed during Leopold's reign of terror serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of colonialism and the enduring legacy of exploitation.